Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cup of Joe with Joe and Joe podcast. I am your host, Joe, and with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Joe.
I was about to slurp that extremely fast. I was like, oh man, it's probably been over 10 hours since I've had a cup of coffee. And that's a little rare. But then I felt the heat hit my chin as I began to inhale, and I was like, uh-oh.
Abort,
oh no.
Abort! Hit the abort button!
And I was like, okay, gotta rough it out. Hopefully it's not that bad. And it was pretty hot. but I do it for the show.
I do it for the podcast. Wonderful. You know what else we do for the podcast? Both of us. We watch things. Like today's episode, we watched, for some of us, our first James Bond movie. Which, to me, is a baffling concept. I can't fathom that. I mean, honestly, there are people out there who haven't seen James Bond movies. I understand that, but my image of you in my head, I was like, yeah, this boy knows what a James Bond thing is. And then refer back to last week's episode 23.1, where someone didn't know the difference between Tom Cruise and James Bond. So that was an event.
Yeah, Joe, I have a lot to say today. Let me tell you. So Joe, I always thought, Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible, that's James Bond, right? I literally always thought that it's a spy movie, and then I thought you were messing with me when you were like, no, they're not the same thing. I'm like, no, he's probably messing with me. So I literally, after the podcast, I looked it up. I'm like, oh shit, I am wrong.
Oh my god, he was right the entire time.
Yeah. So this is my first Bond movie.
Yay! I give you a round of applause. And a little ink shake real quick. That's it, that's all you get. Yeah, but so to commemorate that, the age-old tradition that we've been doing the entire time, we didn't come up with it last week. Since I picked the movie, Joe, time to story it to me.
Okay. Real quickly?
Yeah, real quickly. Rapido. Lightning round.
Okay. The first scene, I didn't hear too well because it was really quiet and I don't know what happened, but Daniel Craig, aka James Bond, kills some dude. I believe he was trading information with Istanbul. I don't know. It really sets the tone for the movie. It's in black and white. Pretty cool. Moves on. Daniel Craig doing more stuff. He blows up an embassy. No big deal. Judi Dench gets really mad at him. It kind of looked like he was flirting with Judi Dench. I don't know. Not the type of thing I'd want to see, but at the same time, why not?
And then Margaret Malloy, I swear to God, Joe.
Yeah, you got the connection. Moving on. He then, after being told to, hey, stop fucking around in something you shouldn't be fucking around, and he said, okay, I'll go fuck around, and he does more spy shit, and he's like, hey, I just found out this person's gonna blow this up. He stops the blowing up thing. He finds out it's more of a big deal. He finds out that this guy who's running it all lost a lot of money, and he needs to get it back, and he's gonna get the money back by playing poker. Well, gee golly my ass, let's go play some poker.
Let's go play some poker, baby.
So James Bond says, okay, I'm gonna go beat him at poker. And he plays him at poker. He ends up winning, but then the guy ends up scratching James Bond's nuts. And then that guy dies, and then you find out that a good guy was actually a bad guy, and then you get really emotional, and then you realize that James Bond has no soul. The end.
Yeah, that was very lightning fast, and you hit on pretty much everything that was massively important to the movie. Okay, thank you. That's been it. Bye-bye. No, we're not going to do that. So just right off the bat, did you enjoy this movie, Joe?
Okay. Joe, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I did
Yeah.
not watch this movie until 12:30 today.
Okay.
And I did not want to watch it at all. I had no desire. I'm like, oh, a spy movie, an action movie. Oh my god, it's gonna be another one of those. I don't have. I'm like, not gonna be anything special. Just some blowy uppy guy with the cat on the. I want to rule the world. I was like, oh my god, I don't want to watch this. Um, damn, I loved it. Holy shit, it was fucking awesome. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna need a lot of food to get through this one. I had a slice of carrot cake that was gone within the first 30 seconds, and let me tell you, those 2 hours and 25 minutes flew very fast.
Oh yeah. And Joe, let me tell you, if you want to get into any other James Bond media, it's all downhill from here.
Really?
That's the best one. I didn't think we would like when I probably gonna make a series out of this whole thing, because most of the James Bond movies are just like anthology stuff, like the way it is. Like you had Sean Connery in the beginning. I don't know how many movies he did, but it's like he does a few. They're technically all in the same continuity, but they don't really reference each other. And then you move on to the other actors and the other actors and all so stuff. Daniel Craig's James Bond started with Casino Royale, and then you have what is it, Quantum of Solace, and then Skyfall, and then you have Spectre, and then there's one more that's
Coming out, right?
It's supposed to be coming out. Yeah, it's been pushed back again and again and again and again because of pandemic issues. But yeah, so he's had his 5 movies, and really his 5 movies are the only ones that have been like a one continuous continuity sort of a thing. Some people like it, some people don't really. I'm a fan of it, but also I've seen like maybe 3 or 4 other James Bond movies that weren't Daniel Craig. Some of the older stuff, like I've seen a Sean Connery one, I've seen GoldenEye, I've seen I can't remember the name, but the terrible one that came right before the Daniel Craig ones, where there's a CGI tidal wave and the Bond is riding on the parachute on a surfboard, riding this giant CGI wave. It's awful. It's very bad. So like, as far as I'm concerned, the only like James Bond movies that I actually care about are the Daniel Craig ones. All the other ones, I'm just sort of like, I can respect them for what they did, but this is my Bond era saga, whatever the hell you want to call it.
So yeah, Joe. In my first note is Daniel Craig is a badass. Like
He's
not
such
James,
a badass.
not James Bond. Daniel Craig himself is a badass. Joe, have you ever seen The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
I have not, but when I was looking at something else on Netflix that we'll talk about, not in this episode, but later in the week when people are listening, I saw that Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was in there. I figured it was like in my recommended, probably because I just watched Casino Royale, so it was like, hey, you like this gorilla in a suit? Well, here's another movie with a gorilla in a suit.
Yeah, I had thought about that. I'm like, oh, I don't think Joe's ever seen that. I'm like, go in on the podcast list. So maybe at some point we'll watch that because that movie, not it's not a spy movie. It's very much a thriller mystery, but gives me similar vibes. Like he plays a very similar role in that. But yeah, Daniel Craig really fits this James Bond role. Like I like when I know James Bond just from being American and being cultured as I am.
I understand pop culture, guys. Come on,
Like I know what he's supposed to be, and holy
Tom Cruise.
yes, why isn't this man shorter?
I think they're probably very close. Hang on.
Daniel Craig
hang
isn't
on.
that tall. He's like my
Tom Cruise height. Tom Cruise is 5'7". All right, and now we search up Daniel Craig height. So Tom Cruise is 5'7". Okay, he's a little bit taller. He's 5'10".
wow.
He's like our height.
I'm 5'7".
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like 5'8", 5'9". I fluctuate between those two. Depends. My spine.
Depends on the day of the week.
It depends on the day of the week. The cycle of the moon, what astrological symbol era we're in, the toxicity of the air, ink. Moving on.
So, Okay. Let me tell you, Joe. One of the first scene that okay, actually explain to me what happened in the black and white scene. Can you give me like a
Okay.
40-second rundown? Was that important at all?
It was important in the sense that it was just showing you how James Bond got his 00 status. So in the beginning, when you see that old white guy come into his office, he was, you were correct, and he was, I don't know who he was selling it to, but he was selling internal like secrets to other malicious forces or foreign nations or whatever. So they sent an agent to go take care of him. And I don't remember exactly how you earn the 00 status, but whatever James Bond does in this mission, he earns said status. And so it's like it flashes back between the bathroom part and the office part. The bathroom part is in the past. He's killing off old white man's informant, and he does that, and then he kills off old white man himself. Thus, he earns his 00 status, which you see during the introduction credit scene where it's like the typing and it fades into like the
Yep,
007
yep.
status confirmed. Yeah, so that's him becoming 007, which is something that they've never shown in the movies previous to this. And that's just a cool thing. Also, what did you think of the title credit sequence with the song and all the
Oh,
different
awesome.
like, geometric crap?
Awesome. Chris Cornell was doing the vocals, if you
Yeah.
are familiar with who he is.
I am.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, this sounds a little like Foo Fighters, a little like Chris Cornell. I'm like, all right, let me see who it is. And then the more and more I listened, it finally popped up. It said Chris Cornell. I'm like, whoa. But yeah, the visuals were great. And Joe, that was the one thing. Holy shit, this came out in 2006.
Yeah, this came out. This thing predates the MCU. This thing predates the Dark Knight Returns. It's an old-ish movie at this point.
Which
Like
doesn't make sense. The only thing that gives it away, maybe the cars, maybe. But even then, they're really nice cars that they show, so you could believe it. And also the phones, obviously, in this movie.
Yes, I love how the phones are all like. You look at them and you're like, ha! This is pre Steve Jobs, baby.
Yeah, and because I think iPhone came out in 2007.
Yeah.
But when I first looked at it, like, and I brought it up, I'm like, oh, it came out in 2016. Awesome. And I had to do a double take. I was like, Nani?
That's 006, Joe, not 007.
That was good. That was a. All right. Yep. He got it in there. It wasn't even planned. Everybody, that was pretty good.
Thank you.
You're gonna tell your kids about that one.
Oh, most definitely. When the kids in the future talk about us being hot stuff, they will refer to this specific time code in this specific episode. But yeah, so moving along to the first action scene where it's Bond chasing after the bomb maker in I don't remember
Madagascar.
in Madagascar.
Wow.
I love it so much.
There's one specific thing that I absolutely loved is when the guy throws the gun at him, he catches it, and then just demolishes him with it. I was like, holy shit, that was so cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of wonderfully character defining stuff in that opening sequence thing. Cause it tells like a perfect story on its own. I watched a video on it on YouTube a while back where it was like rising action, climax, falling action, resolution, like all this. Like, it's a perfect narrative structure just in this opening chase scene alone, and it's incredible. My favorite segment from that, like the gun grabbing, is great because it's so nonchalant. Daniel Craig's face is just like catch. He just looks at the guy. He's like, really? Like, fuck yeah. He just throws it back at him and clobbers him in the head with it. But then when he's chasing him through one of the construction buildings, and this is like everyone else's favorite part of this entire scene.
Is this when he goes through the wall?
Yes, it's when he goes to the wall. It's so great.
It's clobbering time.
Exactly. He just becomes the Hulk and just smashes through it, and I'm like, oh my god, this man is a gorilla. It's very funny. I love it. And then, of course, the end of the chase scene where he's surrounded in the embassy, and then he's just like, "All right, y'all got me," and he's like, "But wait, my ego," and then he fucking pulls out the gun, shoots the bomb maker, and then blows up one of the propane tanks, and then he gets away, and then he's like, "All right, I'm gone." Yeah, it's one of, if not like the greatest chase scenes of all time. I love that scene so much. There's so much character infused into it, and it's just awesome. What do you think also about Dame Judi Dench, M?
Oh yeah, that's my next note. Judy fucking Dench. I put like 4 exclamation point after it. She is a bad motherfucker. Fits the damn role. I would be scared of Judy Dench. Like that's like, in your like grade school, like I'm not in high school, but in like grade school, there's that one female teacher that not the fuck with. That's Judy Dench. That is Judy Dench.
You don't fuck with Dame Judi Dench, you hear? Yeah, you absolutely do not. And it's wonderful seeing Bond like just appear in her house, and she's like, "What the bloody hell are you doing in my house?" And he's just like, I'm just dropping by. And then the little tease where he's like, "I had no idea M stood for something. I thought it was just a randomly assigned letter. I had no idea it stood for." And then she's like, "If you say one more goddamn word, I will have your head." And I'm like, haha, I believe you. It's very scary. But yeah, and then he goes off to
Bahamas.
Bahamas. Yep. And the only note I have from the Bahamas section is you can ride a horse on the beach in the Bahamas.
Yes. I can 100% certify that. Yes, that is true. And also the one note I have from the Bahamas is you flirt with like 4 exclamation points. Damn, Daniel fucking Craig, what a goddamn player. He is smooth as can be.
Yes, 100%. He is by far the smoothest Bond out of all of them, because all the other ones are just like, "Ha, woman, I am shirtless and now we bang," and it's like, okay, different times, different stuff going on back there. This is obviously much more modern, and just like the way he acts, while still a little bit scoundrelous, is like, yeah, this guy's smooth as hell.
Oh yeah.
Very good.
Oh,
I love the part where he's just like he's talking to the wife of the guy that he's trying to get the information on, and he's just like, "Well, maybe you're out of practice," and she's all like, "Oh, all right, where's your place?" And he's like, "It's close by," and then he just does a little circle in the dipsy doodle, and they stops, and he's like, "Welcome to where I'm staying," and she's like, "Ah, clever man," and I'm like, "Ah, yes, clever man."
yeah, and he this is the thing, like I don't think of him as an like sometimes like Playboy, when you think of a Playboy, you're like, "Oh, what a douche." Not Daniel Craig. I'm like Daniel Craig. I'm like, "Yeah, man. Round of applause to you, man. You are he's smooth. He is so damn smooth." And yeah, that scene, I was like, "Oh man, if we get more of that, I'm going to be happy."
Yeah, it's very good, but like there's like so much characterization stuff that I feel like I could talk about in like all these different scenes. But I am gonna move forward a little bit more and get to some of the other stuff that
Keep
we have because
on
there's so
chugging.
like, yeah, we got to keep on chugging because every time I get in this, I always forget there's a segment. Like when I rewatched it for the first time years ago, I forgot the entire last chunk of the movie where like after the quote
Yeah.
unquote main bad is defeated, I'm like, oh yeah, there's still like another 20 minutes of movie. And then
Right.
in this, I forgot there was the plane segment, and like he has to stop the bombing of the plane thing, and I was just like, oh, I completely forgot this was in here. And like my favorite note from this part, like all the stunts and all of the action pieces are great. Like when the plane is about to touch
Amazing.
down,
Great action.
yeah, and then it pulls on up, and all like the power from the engines blows over all the cop cars. I'm like, this looks so cool. And then the fact that he, instead of like perfectly defeating his enemy, he's just clever and lucky to the point where he's hanging out of a truck and he sees what the explosive is, and then he grabs it and he hooks it onto the guy's belt. You never see it, but like you can tell that he's going for it. And then I both simultaneously love and am very put off by the fact that the terrorist guy, he presses the button to like start the explosive, and Bond is just like being pressed down on the cop car, and he's watching him, and he's just like, and then the terrorist is like, "Wait, what's that beeping?" And he turns around and it's just attached to his belt, and he's like, "Uh-oh," and then he explodes, and Bond is just smiling, and I'm like, this man's a little unhinged, do you think?
Yeah, that scene. the sound of him exploding. It wasn't just boom. Like like you heard something living go splat.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You
yeah,
heard something living end up not living anymore.
yeah, that
Those
was
insides are on the outside.
yeah. I think Bond has been waiting for a while to get that 007 status because when you get 007, that means you can kill, right? You get the license
I
to
think
kill.
so. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, you can't just kill willy nilly, but like, yeah, you probably have like a longer leash.
yeah. It seems like he's really taking advantage of that.
Oh yes, 100%. So
So
he, oh, yeah,
so that happens and eventually talks to M and she's like you're wild but I had a feeling you were going to keep going. So here's some more info. Keep doing what you're doing and keep us posted. And they put a tracking device in him because she's like, just got to keep an eye on you. So next thing you know, he's on a train. And he's on a train with this woman named Vespa or Vesper. What's
Vesper,
Ves?
ER,
Whew, man, oh man, Vesper.
dude, Eva Green. Between this and the Sin City sequel, oh my god, what a
She,
woman!
she's, she's bad. She is. Yeah, yeah. I saw. I was like, oh boy. I'm like, that's the love interest. I'm like, this is bad news for me. Oh boy. Okay, here we go. And you find out that she is an accountant for like for Great Britain.
All of Great Britain, I am the accountant for all of you.
And she's like, all right, so I have $50 million with me, or I have $50 million that I'm gonna let you use to go play in this poker match, and we're gonna hope you win. And then when the other guy doesn't have money, um, we're gonna corner him and be like, hey, if you tell us what's up, we'll give you anonymity, maybe I forget what it was. And we'll take down some of the other bad guys. We'll protect you so you don't get killed. And hey, it's like a win-win. And Daniel Craig's like, all right, sounds good.
Yep. And so he goes off and he uh, does a couple more arrogant things and pisses off Vesper
Oh,
quite a
oh,
bit. They butt heads a
one
lot.
more thing. One more thing. Yes, that train. So train scene, yes, is. I have the train scene is great, not because of the setting up of the actual like story of like what the casino whole gambling thing's supposed to be, but
Right.
holy shit, their relationship. The fact that Daniel Craig can read her and then she reads him right back and oh my god. I'm telling you, when she gave the kind of like psychological breakdown of him as soon as he was done, he definitely got a hard on. He was like, oh, and then this is even better. This fucking line, holy crap. She said something like, oh, are you gonna make maybe it was later. She's like, oh, you're not gonna make moves on me or anything, right? He goes, oh no, you're not my type. And she goes, oh, what, smart? He goes, no, single.
Single. Yeah.
Another one where I'm like, you player, you dog.
Yep. Yeah, that's James Bond to a T in this film. It's so good. But yeah, so they get to the hotel. They end up going to the casino. They begin the poker game. Joe, I have never, I don't think I ever will again, have been more invested in a game of poker than in this. And you're not even really watching it that much. It's so tense. And the
Oh
stuff,
my
like, there's so
god.
many characters just around it. Like, obviously, you meet Felix Manley. I can't remember what his last name is. You meet Felix, the guy from the CIA, and so he's a bit more of like a supporting character. But then even like the large black guy and like the long haired Asian dude, it's like they're so I don't even know their names or really what their purpose were, but they just add so much like depth to this game, and I'm just like I'm so invested in all of you doing like good, or just mostly though it's like I just want this friggin' one-eyed psycho to lose.
Yeah, yeah, that the actual poker room where this little tournament is happening, so cool, so freaking cool. The fact that like he has Vesper dress up so she can kind of be distracting. The fact that the fact that he got her the dress and then she got him the suit jacket, fucking great. His what is this? I had a perfectly good. She goes, oh no, He goes, this is tailored. He goes, oh, I sized you up the first moment I saw you. And I was like, oh my God, the sexual tension. I'm like, please, please give it to me.
There are dinner jackets and there are dinner jackets. This is the latter. So many iconic, great lines.
Right?
We could just sit here and quote this movie for
That's
like,
what mostly my notes are. It's
hours.
just quoting the lines. It's... Oh, man.
Just... Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. So... So we're the poker game starts, right, Joe?
Yes.
And you're getting a little bit of tension between James and the bad guy with the creepy eye. Do I have right down?
Le Chief.
Le Chief. Sounds like Le Chafe. Just a French word to say irritation of your groins.
Uh-huh.
And
I mean,
basically,
he definitely did that for me.
Yes,
and for James.
Basically, it's a long poker game, but it's way more than that. It's actually intense. They have to take breaks because it's over multiple days. There's a bunch of action scenes that happen. Bond loses all the money. I don't know how to talk about the actual poker game because that's like a good 45 minutes of the movie that the actual poker game takes up, but so much other stuff happens in between it.
Yeah, because you have in between the different breaks of the poker game, you have clearing the three out. You have the first part where James Bond goes like up to Le Chiffre's apartment to see what's going on there, and then you have like the guys that Le Chiffre owes money to leaving the apartment and then realizing that Bond has an earpiece and that he's an agent of some kind. So they attack him. And so there's like the stairwell fight where Vesper helps Bond to kill one of them. And so she's emotionally distraught over that because she's just helped murder a man and witnessed like two people try to kill her that are now dead. So she's trying to deal with that. And there's the great vulnerable shower scene where she's just in her dress in full makeup still sitting in the shower, and James comes in and like just tries to comfort her, and it's wonderful because never before have you had a scene with such an emotionally an emotionally mature Bond where it's like he just like wants to comfort her and it's great. And then there's the other part where he takes the drink from the Chief's girlfriend and he's just like going into cardiac arrest because it was poison, and you're like, oh Christ. And so he goes to the car and he gets the little defibrillator set, and like all of the people back at the I guess headquarters, what you would call it, are telling him, all right, Bond, you got to put the things on your chest, and then you got to press the button when it's at full charge and all this sort of stuff, and then it's broken, and then Vesper comes out, plugs it in, and saves his life, and then he has the wonderful line where he comes back, and Le Chiffre is like pissing his pants, and he just goes, terribly sorry, that last hand nearly killed me. And I'm just like, it's so good! So good! But yeah, so it's a 45-minute segment of the movie, but like it's not 45 minutes of you just staring at a poker table and watching cards get passed around. There's other like incredible stuff that happens in between all of it, and it's just it's so good.
Yeah, it shows that I feel like a spy movie doesn't have to be all about the actions and the big stunts. Like I would say some of my favorite scenes happen during that 45-minute segment when they're technically just playing poker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's just a testament to the writing and the actors' charisma and their interactions and all that sort of stuff, where it's like those are some of the more engaging parts of the movie. Like I love me some free running action scenes and busting through walls and all that sort of crap. But I mean, again, like the train scene, just some nice witty dialogue with some charismatic actors who have good chemistry. I'd probably take that over the action scenes. If I'm being honest, they're just that good.
Yeah, yeah. Daniel Craig fits this role great.
Hmm.
And so for the rest of the movie, I mean, eventually, Daniel Craig wins the poker match. In a very, I would say, fulfilling way. It wasn't just like they handled the win really well. Um, and eventually you think, okay, this is it. Like they're gonna clean it all up. The CIA guy's gonna take him in. This or that. And then you find out that Vesper gets kidnapped after they won, and Bond has to go track him down. He gets in a huge car crash because
At
he
the
just
time, it held the record for the most car flips ever filmed. So that was a
really.
big deal yeah, that was a big deal in 2006.
It was a really good scene. Like it scared the shit out of me when I saw her on the
On the
road.
road, yeah.
Yeah, and so he ends up getting fucked, and then Lechif takes him to his torture chamber. Oh my god! Literally, it took me back to I don't even know. That took me back to like the basement scene in like Pulp Fiction, and I was like, oh god! I'm like, how
Very
dark.
much those vibes.
Yeah, and so you have a ripped Daniel Craig naked
Mr. Gorilla.
sitting in this chair without a bottom, without a seat. And originally I thought, oh, they're going to do that because they're going to hang him. They're going to like strangle him. You know what I mean? Um, and then I see also the Chief is a really great villain. Like, isn't that like doesn't have he has a presence, but it's not like overwhelming. And I really liked him, and I actually found him pretty fucking scary. Um,
Yeah. It's always mind-boggling to me because of how much he's really. When I watched the movie, these two characters don't meet until the poker game. Like Bond like knows of Lashif because he's going through the database with some of like the British intelligence stuff. But it's like the first time they meet is at that poker game, and the amount of tension they already have built up there, it's insane. And then at the end, it's like they have that torture scene, which again is infamous, and I'd never
let
seen
me let,
anything like that when.
yes, yes. So the chief pulls up with this rope, and I'm like, all right, here we go. He's gonna hang him, and he does this thing where he like swings it, and he at first I thought, wait a minute, did he just hit his butt? I'm like, Daniel Craig is acting like he's like just got like one of the worst pains ever, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, oh shit, he's hitting his nuts.
The realization comes.
Holy shit, that torture scene is insane. The way it looked, Daniel Craig being sweaty, his screams, that seemed like actual pain. And then the fact he's like, "Oh, you forgot the other one. No, a little more to the right." I literally, what a sadistic motherfucker. No, or would that be masochistic? No, that'd be masochistic. Holy shit, he's like, "Give me more." And and then that's when he brings up the line. He's like, "Oh, you're not going to get anything, and the only thing you're getting out of it is the fact that you scratched my nuts."
Everyone's gonna know you done scratched my balls.
Holy crap. Yeah, that scene that was wild. I was not expecting that whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah. This isn't Mission Impossible.
Yeah, Mission Impossible is so freaking kiddie, man, compared to this shit.
Just wait till you see Fallout. That one is. I mean, it doesn't have any like ball torture scenes, but I mean, some of the fight scenes in that. Oh my good God, Henry Cavill, fucking machine gun arms, click, click, bang, and you're just like, oh my God. Maybe we'll get to that at some point as well. But that one, I feel like you need to go through the whole series because it'd be like a much more fulfilling thing. Anyway, getting ahead of myself. But yeah, so ball torture scene, Bond gets saved. That's the other thing where it's like Bond doesn't meet this guy until way late into the movie. They have a bit of a scuffle for a bit. A bit of ball busting fun and all that. And then he's not even killed. Like, the chief isn't even killed by Bond. He's just killed by someone else. His name is Mr. White, who does appear in later Bond movies. But I figured you probably wouldn't know about that, but whatever. And he's just like, yeah, you failed to deliver on what you promised us, so goodbye. And they shoot him in the head, and he's just gone. And then we kick into the final segment of the movie, which, if you want to talk about that, by all means.
Joe, this is all I have to say.
Uh-huh.
Little finger. Whoa. I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, let me turn that. I'm like, rewind, get my ear super close to the mic. I was like, damn, that's some dirty talk. Damn, that wasn't like dirty talk like, oh, what you gonna do with me? He literally was like, wait till you see what my hands can do to your vagina.
Jesus
Holy
Christ.
shit. Wow, I got a little hot and bothered by hearing that. I'm gonna be honest. Like, damn. Whew, if I was a woman, my pants would have disappeared.
I mean, well, in about 30 seconds, hers did after they got back together, and I was just
They
like,
destroy a bunch of medical equipment.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, as soon this is the nerd in me. I see all that medical equipment go down. I'm like, that's like $10,000.
I was just gonna say the British government just gets a bill for like all the stuff they broke, and they're just like, "What did you do?" And he's like, "You don't want to know. Don't use a black light, please."
Wow. Okay. So Bond's recovering. We also find out that one of the dudes that was helping Bond. There's a lot of double crossing in this movie. He double crossed Bond, and he's going to make Bond kill himself, but then eventually he gets caught, taken away, go to jail. And then him and Vesper are like, all right. Like, Vesper says something. Like, the emotional scenes between the two of them, their relationship is really fucking great. Like, wow. Like, it doesn't feel just like a love interest. Like, it's really palpable. And whoever did the writing did a really fucking great job for their relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's top notch.
Yeah, so they have a beautiful exchange of words about how they love each other, and Bond's talking about like, hey, I will quit and I will just live with you, and we'll keep going until the money runs out, until one of us has to get an honest job. And
An honest job, baby.
And then he does the little finger thing. They make love, and the next thing you know, they're like in Italy. I'm pretty sure it's Italy.
Yeah, welcome to Venice, bitches.
And he's like, oh, man, this is the life. He's sending his resignation letter, and then Vesper's like, all right, I'm going to go to the bank. We got to get some money. And then Bond gets a call from M, and she's like, hey, sorry to bother you. By the way, saw your email. We'll talk about that later. But, so the Treasury of the UK is kind of wondering where all their money's at. And James is like, it hasn't been transferred? She's like, no, not really. And then he kind of makes the connection. He's like, oh, shit.
I'll call you back. Gotta go. Bye.
And he calls up the really cheesy, goober-looking Swiss dude. He's like, hey, I haven't gotten my money. He's like, oh, yeah, it was transferred to the account that you picked. He goes, all right, well, what's the account number? Tells him the account number. He goes, yeah, it's being drawn right now. And Bond is like, where? And then he finds out where it is. He's like, all right, gotta go. And he is on the hunt.
Back, bye.
He ends up finding Vesper with a briefcase with all the money, and she's meeting up with somebody. And at this point, I was really surprised by this. I wasn't expecting this, because I feel like sometimes you can predict stuff like this. Mm-hmm. Didn't really caught me off guard, and it made me sad because I liked her a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
So and you can see the anger in Bond's eyes, because this seems, I mean, you find out this is like one of the only times he kind of lets his heart open. Like he says, like, my armor is off. Like I'll open myself up to you. And You find out she's giving the money to somebody. She was giving the money to somebody else, so he assumes that she was working for somebody. But then there's this whole shootout. A whole Italian building falls down. They lose the briefcase, and she gets stuck in an elevator. And in one of the most dramatic scenes, probably one of the more sadder movie deaths I've ever seen. Actually, like, didn't make me cry, but really, like, the way she looked when she died, and the way Bond looked when he realized it. Oh my god, really shook me.
Dude, when they get back up, because like obviously when they're underneath and she pushes him away and then she starts like expelling all of the air in her lungs and just gulping in all the water, like whenever I see that part, I'm always like, God damn you, Vesper! Why did you do it? And then obviously he screams in rage and he manages to get the cage open. But the part that always gets me with that scene is, God, it's after he tries to resuscitate her on the ceiling of the collapsed building, and then he realizes it's too late, and he sits back up, and it's like that uneasy breathing, and he's looking around because he doesn't know what to do. That you've just watched this arrogant asshole for like the entirety of this movie for the last 2 hours and 15 minutes, and then in these last 2 minutes you see this completely different side to him, and it's so vulnerable and broken, and it's just the complete reverse of everything that we've been led to believe he is.
Yeah, yeah, it was really such a, I have a note saying it's such a sad ending, but there's still even a little bit more after that.
A little
But
bit more.
overall, sad ending. And so you find out from M that she had a boyfriend, and I don't know. I guess maybe you can explain this, the timeline of when they took the boyfriend. Like, had she been planning to double cross him the whole time? Like, before, like, as soon as she got assigned to helping him? Or was it like,
Yes.
okay, so it's implied the whole
Yeah.
time.
I'm
Damn.
pretty like I don't think it's because the next movie touches on that a little bit more. I don't remember all that much about it. Quantum of Solace isn't very good, but the I believe the implication is she goes for this assignment because she knows she needs to get this money in order to pay for the ransom for her boyfriend or something along those lines. So I'm pretty sure from the beginning she was like going for the money, or at least some money. I don't know exactly how much money she needed to get him back, but I'm pretty sure whoever she was working for or like dealing with, they knew like what had transpired, so they were like, all of it, give it now. Because again, she's the one that had the account number that the funds would get transferred to if
True,
Bond won,
true. Yeah, yeah,
and they
good point.
inputted that in the beginning of the casino of the the casino scenes before the poker game. So she would have had to be dealing with them because she knew which bank account to transfer it to. So yeah, she'd been working with them from the very beginning.
Okay, okay, so that makes sense. And basically, Emma's like, "Hey, like, you need some time away," and Daniel Craig is fully zipped back up in his armor, not opening up to anything. And he literally calls Vesper a bitch, which kind of made me really sad.
Yeah, that's a
And
line directly from the whatchamacallit, the Ian Fleming, the novelization of
oh, really?
Casino Royale. Yeah, that's people have done the video editing where like they play the scene and they highlight the exact quote from the page in the book or whatever. But yeah, so like the exact line is like, "Why would I need time? The bitch is dead." He says something like, "I'm fine, the bitch is dead," something like that. But yeah, exact quote from the novel.
Wild. So, but then he ends up looking at her phone, and she left him a clue. And it says for James, and it's a phone number, and it says Mr. White. And Mr. White is the guy that ended up getting the briefcase, which I forgot to mention in that whole debacle. They thought they lost the briefcase, but he ends up grabbing it and getting away with all the money. And
Millions of dollars.
James calls him up. He goes, "Oh, yes, is this Mr. White?" And he's like, yeah, who is this?" And
Bang.
boom, his tibia is shattered.
Yeah, them leg bones don't work no more.
Oh my goodness. And you finish off with the final classic James Bond line. Oh, does Mr. White ask who he is?
Yeah, he just goes, "Who are you?"
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, it's Bond. James Bond." Ta-da!
And then the classic Bond music, which hasn't played throughout the entirety of the movie, comes in triumphantly to finish it off. End credits, scene, fin, the ends in different languages that I don't know. Curtains close.
Wow. Yeah, this thing was awesome, Joe. Wow. This is way better than I thought it was going to be. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was great.
I'm so glad that you had such a good time, especially in the beginning of this where you're just like, I wasn't really wanting to go into it, and I watched it like at noon 30. I know what I said. And it was just like, because then in my brain I was like, oh, you probably saw the running time and you were like, God damn. But I'm so very happy that you liked it. And so at some point you'll have to go through the other ones because, they're most of the Daniel Craig ones are pretty good. So I'd be interested to see what your take is on the rest of those. I don't know if we do with the podcast, but yeah. And then at some point we should also do the Mission Impossibles because we need to finally untangle those franchises in your brain.
I think they've been pretty untangled. I've only ever seen one Mission Impossible, just to get that clear.
Right. Gotcha. We need to rectify that as well, but that will come later. Real quick, I'm going to give rating for this movie, and my rating for this movie is a 9 out of 10.
7.5 out of 10.
Ooh, okay. I respect it.
And I mean that very positively. It's
Gotcha.
It's a strong 7.5.
Is it as strong as the Snyder Cut?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I enjoy it's one of those where I was like, wow, both movies where I'm like, I don't know how this is gonna go. And at the end I'm like, that went great.
Except one was 4 hours long.
But it was fine. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good times.
My turn.
What's it gonna be?
All right, Joe. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Joe, for the past 6 weeks, we have watched live action movies. We're bringing back the animation, baby. And not just any animation, that good old weeb shit.
Oh, I know where this is going.
I'm not making you watch Pompoko.
Oh, thank God.
Oh yeah, for everyone who wants to know, Joe and I actually had a double feature that we didn't mention during the Snyder Cut. We followed Snyder Cut with a Studio Ghibli classic, Pompoko.
Don't call it a classic.
Joe very much detests it. I kind of love it in the strangest way possible, and will be rewatching it from years on end. So check out Pompoko.
Okay, check it out if you have a keen interest in the magic of raccoon testicles. That's all I'm going to say.
But we're doing Studio Ghibli again.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing my favorite. We're doing Princess Mononoke.
Yes! Yes!
I was in the shower last night, cleaning my body, and I was looking at my I have a tattoo of San, the one of the female protagonists of the movie, Princess Mononoke herself. And I was like, damn, I haven't watched Princess Mononoke in a while. I'm like, oh, well, that's the movie. We're watching it. I'm in the mood.
That's it. I got it. Wait, we're done. Mononoke time. All right, that is, yeah, I was looking at my future picks as well, and I have some live action stuff, and then I also had some animation, and I was in the same mindset of like, we should switch over to some animation now because we've done a crap ton of live action. So yes, glad we're on the same wavelength there. Okay, Anything else you want to add before I take us out of here?
Just for everybody that's confused, Tom Cruise is not James Bond.
He's James Todd. Okay, everyone, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, all that wonderful stuff. We love you, and we'll leave you. And with that, I shall say, bye-bye.